So, what brings you here?
I wish I had something original that you hadn't heard before.
Oh, give it a
But I got
try.
well, what I mean, I've spent time with you before. Spend time with Cat and Bob.
Yeah.
A lot of resonation with all those things.
Yeah.
All the pointers and the messages. It's very apparent to me that I'm not my thoughts for all the pointers that have been pointed out, right?
Yeah.
I feel like despite that, at least my mind, which we can agree is BS for the
Yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
it wants to know that it knows that I get what's being pointed to. And so I'm always looking to know that I know, like, oh yeah, that's what's being pointed to for sure. The problem is, as I'm sure you'll agree, is you can't say who or what you are, right? Right. So it's all conceptual, but then I hear pointers like once you see it, like rest is that beingness, rest is that awareness. Well, obviously, one of your pointers is I don't know what my next thought's going to be, but thoughts keep happening.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm not shutting thoughts off. And even to that extent, they're going to keep happening.
Yeah.
So knowing that I know, like, is what's this? And then how would one rest as that to deepen in that understanding with the inability to control those thoughts? And so that's kind of like something that I struggle with is like, I'll something will happen, experience happen, life happens, and then all of a sudden there's a thought that's like, oh, is that it? You know what I mean?
Let me just say this. Yeah. Sometimes you can be exposed. Let's say, here's a good one. Let's say you've moved into a new apartment, okay? And it's on a main road, and it's a very, very busy road, okay? And you knew that, like when you kind of got there, and that was a downside was it's going to be noisy to live here because you're going to hear cars going by and sirens and people bipping their horns and so on and so forth. He thought, no, I'll take it anyway because there's a lot of other things about the place that I like. Yeah. First week, maybe the first couple of weeks, you're hearing every sound that goes by. Yeah. And you're focusing on the sound. Yeah. There goes an ambulance. There goes a fire truck. There goes this. Someone's holding their horn for 10 seconds. So you know that person's really pissed and there's just from all this sound. Get to the fourth, fifth, or sixth week, and all of a sudden you discover you're not even noticing it. It's become a part of you. You don't even notice the sound anymore, 6-month mark, you're not noticing the sound at all. Yeah. Just sort of gets integrated in. Yeah. You could have a friend pop around 6 months later and you're sitting there and you're just chatting away and you're quite at peace and you're all right sitting in your apartment. And the other person's saying, how can you live here? It's so loud. Yeah. It's much the same with mind. Much the same with mind. Yeah. The difference is we've been living with the mind all our damn life. All our life. Yep. And then, we start to discover how damn loud it is. Right? Because it just sort of becomes the norm. Thinking and all that just becomes the norm. Yeah? Then we start to have a look at it and go, hold on a minute. These thoughts are just happening and I can't stop them. And it's just kind of, and for a moment, it all seems to be exaggerated because now we're more acutely aware of the noise going on in our head. Yeah. Now, we can continue to focus on the noise, yeah, or make that shift that you're referring to. Yeah. What is it that's hearing? What is it that has the capacity to even hear that noise? Whether it be cars going by or whether it be the noise in the mind. What is it that can hear that? Yeah. And we become more interested in that than the noise itself. Yeah. But to become more interested in that, which is what you're calling abiding as, yeah, become more interested in that, yeah, we have to know pretty much from almost like from an absolute sense, not initially, but a very good idea, yeah, that you're not the mind, you're not what the mind is saying you are, yeah, and the mind has zero to do with this that is aware of it, or if you like, this that can hear it, if you like, yeah. So the mind creates the character in the mind, yeah, which is just a pattern of thoughts. And then there's other patterns of thoughts that arise in the mind, yeah, that create a story about the character, and character's done this and I've done, but it's all just mind. It's all just thoughts, all just dialogue that's going on in the mind. Yeah. Now, when you know you're not that, yeah, because the mere fact that you're aware of that logically implies you can't be that. You're aware of that. You could apply the same to the body. You're aware of the body, so you can't be the body. Do you understand? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
It's an object in your awareness.
yeah.
So it is therefore separate from you.
Seemingly so, yeah.
Seemingly.
Seemingly so, yeah. According to mind, because that's the instrument we're using, right? Even in this discussion now, that's the instrument that's being used. Even our language is dualistic.
Sure.
It's dualistic. It's a descriptive tool as we're speaking, which constantly describing, constantly. Yeah. Now, the mistake that we make, Chris, is that even when we find ourselves going, oh, yep, okay, yep, that makes sense. Can't be the thoughts. I'm aware of the thoughts, so I must be the awareness. Yeah. If we're not careful with that and we don't truly see, Chris will still be taking the position of that is aware. It's really subtle. It's really subtle. Yeah. Because if that wasn't happening, Chris taking the position of it's Chris that's aware of the thoughts and I'm me, Chris, am not that. Yeah. Whilst that dialogue's going on, we're still seeking. There's still seeking that will occur. The mind will still be saying, I still don't understand this, or I'm still not getting quite this, or you know, I have a great understanding, but I must be missing something. Do you understand? It's just how yeah, I know you do that. That's just how it operates. Yeah. Now, how do I abide as this? Yeah. My question to that would be, try not abiding as this. The question, how do I abide as this, is an absurd question. So to counteract that, I would say to you, yeah, try not abiding as this. Good luck. And you'll see the absurdity of, how do I abide as this? Look, it's the mind's last ditched attempt to try and hang on. You with me? It's still trying to hang on. How do I abide as this? That's asking the question, how do I abide as this? Can't. That's why it's asking the question. It can't abide as this. Yeah? But you can. And when I say you can, I'm not referring to Chris.
I think you raised
yeah, come on.
I think you raised a really great point with the trap of I am not that, but I am still aware, creating that sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
because I can definitely catch that, because I ask myself all these things. I'm like something is still there thinking that it's aware,
Yeah.
and it's not. And then, the whole mind process will be like, well, if that's the case, how do I even know that I'm aware? Because everything I try to do is going to be a circular thought pattern that's going to put concepts on everything, and
I
it's not
know.
going to get me anywhere. It's just going to dig into the hole.
I know. Yeah. And but the whole thing is ridiculous,
Sure.
because if I ask you right now, are you aware? Your natural automatic response will be to nod your head and say yes. Now, why isn't that sufficient enough? Why isn't that enough? Because if I ask you, are you conscious? You'd go, yes. Now, why isn't that enough? Why isn't that sufficient enough? Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because there's still a position being taken by the mind that it's Chris that's aware, it's Chris that's conscious. And all you got to do, Chris, is see that. That's not difficult. That's not difficult. You've seen the hardest stuff. You have. Most people who are walking around on the planet, Chris, believe that they're the thinker, for God's sake. Really? And it's not rocket science. Anyone that says to me, yeah, of course I'm the thinker, then I just simply say to them, okay, well, let's test that. Stop it.
Right.
If you're the thinker, stop it. It doesn't dawn on people that if they're the thinker, then they're the creator of the thoughts. Therefore, they could either change the thoughts and think nothing but blissful thoughts, or indeed stop the damn things. Now, you've already discovered that, right? It's just happening. It's just occurring. Yeah. But what's also just occurring, and you need to catch it, yeah, is this idea that it's Chris here that's conscious and aware. Because if it was truly seen that there is no Chris here that is conscious and aware, guess where the attention would go then?
I mean, it wouldn't have a focal point, so it would just be conscious and awareness.
Good. Where would the interest be, if you like? Remember, the interest has always been in the mind, which is, they call that the dream state, the sleepy dream state, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, that's not happening. Yeah. Where are you going to be?
Here.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. Now, the only mistake that's being made is mind is still saying that this that's here is Chris. That's all. And now you need to catch that. You need to see that. It's like this, Chris. Yeah. This is what's happening. Okay. You've identified. Can I do that? Yeah. You've identified. I'll do it there on my black t-shirt. You've identified that thoughts just happen. Okay. You have absolutely identified that. I know you have, right? But this is what's actually happening for you. Thoughts just happen, but there's still a personal self, and the personal self has personal thoughts about the thoughts that are just happening. And those three things, yeah, are all just arising in the thoughts that just happened. So there's a separating out. Yes, I can see that thoughts just happen, but there's still me that's now having thoughts about the thoughts that are just happening. That's where you are. And all you got to do is see that. That's where you are. That's all, not where you are, but that's what's occurring. Yeah. All there is thoughts arising. Every single solitary thought. There's no personal me thoughts about the thoughts that are just arising. Yeah? And if you knew that it wasn't Chris here that's aware of the mind or aware of the body or aware of anything, if you absolutely knew that it's not Chris here that's aware of, you'd know your true nature. Because if it's not Chris, If it's not Chris, it must be you. Now, I'm not giving you a location. I'm not defining what you are, but I do know there's an intelligence there that understands what's being said. And there's hearing there that can hear my voice. And there's eyes there that can see me here. The Chris character can't do any of that. None of that. None. It's a character. Character can't see, can't feel. That's an important one. Can't feel. Yet there's feeling happening.
But there was a video you posted with your friend Ursula recently where she was
Oh,
asking
yes.
you about a quote unquote feeling,
Yeah.
and recognizing, and that sparked a question for me, in that, like, feeling would be something technically in consciousness. So as like the actual feeling itself couldn't be you, right? It would be what is aware of the feeling,
Yeah,
which
but
is
you, yes, but
undefined.
good. But you are that.
Are the feeling?
You are that can feel.
Yes.
Now, can we agree to feel, you must first be conscious?
Yes.
There you are. But mind goes to that consciousness. Yeah. Yeah. And it, because the mind is dualistic, it's trying to put a boundary around consciousness, or it's trying to understand what consciousness is, where it starts, where it's finished. What is it? Does it have a color, shape, mass? Does it? What is it? Because when you're absolutely just truly there as consciousness, there's zero that you can actually say about it. And the mind hates that, because it's its nature to label or conceptualize about what consciousness is. And it'll even go as far as, it'll start objectifying the consciousness. You were doing it a second ago.
Yeah.
Objectifying it. If you are that, you can't objectify it.
I mean, it does feel very, if I'm truly, and I think I am, seeing what you're pointing to, it's a very clear immediacy.
Yeah. Can't get
I mean,
more immediate. You
like,
cannot get more immediate. See, when we use the mind to understand the immediacy, the mind will still measure it in an increment, because that's its nature. Everything must have a start and a finish. One now must have a start and then an end, and then a new now must have a start and then an end, and it still divides. Whereas in the direct absolute experience, there's no beginning and there's no end. It's just, if you like, on. There isn't any beginning or end to it. That's the immediacy of, now I'm using words, so it's not accurate, right? But
right.
That's the immediacy of now. That's why the now
the best week.
It's referred to as the infinite, because it doesn't have a beginning or an end. The now. That's the infinite. The mind thinks that the infinite is some vast thing out there. It's here. No beginning, no end.
Well, and then I find myself, and this is something I just caught too, is the double-edged sword of the pointer. Because conceptually, then when you get there, as I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh, well, this isn't anything special. Oh, it just came back in as a thought. Or like,
good.
Oh, well, where is this supposed to happen? Or like,
Good catch.
You've told your story about how a couple months went by and you have 4 memories or whatever. I'm like, well, I'm still here or whatever, but that's a relation to a pointer or a concept or something that's trying to also do the same shit.
Yeah. And don't. It happens differently. This will sound a contradiction, right? It happens differently for everybody. It's not the same. Just because that's how it occurred here doesn't mean it has to occur that way there. Not at all. Not at all.
That's all technically just part of the story anyway. Yeah.
Correct.
It's like I've had moments where you know, as we all tend to do, we have moments that make us anxious. I was backing out of my garage one day recently, and I was just really feeling anxious. I could feel it in my chest about something, and I stopped and I laughed because I was like, "Man, you're just sitting in your car. Like, what's happening? Like, literally, what's
catch.
happening? You're
Good
sitting
catch.
in your car. Like,
Good catch.
all
Yep.
this shit is just in your head."
Good catch. Good catch.
It's. I wish more people could catch it. It's easy to get wrapped up in, so I can't blame anyone. I can't.
Yeah. Well, look, there's nobody to blame. That's
Yep.
just what's happening. There's no one to blame. If there's no one here, then there's no one there.
Oh,
If you like another way of looking at it, it's just life living. Now, I've done this one life, not a life here and a life there and a life over there and 8 billion lives, and then there's all the insects and birds and animals. And no, there is one life manifesting as seeming